Chris, what are you crunching on over there?
I got
Oh,
the goat.
nice.
The goat right there.
I mean, peanut M&Ms are my forte.
Peanut butter M&Ms, man.
Okay, fair enough. We can have the candy discourse now, but I think what people want to do is talk a little Steeler football. And a good afternoon to all of you listening in. Of course, today is Tuesday, September 26, 2023. My name is Corey Crisan. Joining me as always is Chris Halicke, and you are listening to the South Side Beat. Steeler football. The Houston Texans are on the horizon, Chris. We are away from the Las Vegas Raiders. Looking forward to the Texans, and of course today on a Tuesday after a victory Monday after an overreaction Monday perhaps was a Mike Tomlin Tuesday. And let's just say the comment that he made last week about the mojo,
it's all for nothing,
to not do it in too much of a Dr. Evil tone, was about nothing. That was media fodder. We got apparently, but we're going to talk about the Steelers offense today because that's a hot topic right now. But the mojo thing, Chris. Maybe the Steelers have it. Maybe they don't now. I don't know. But Mike Tomlin definitely had fun with that one.
Yeah, it's not the first time he's given the media lip service or something to write. Pretty much. Let's just face it. Mike Tomlin's really, really good at his job. AJ Deb coming in with the $5 donation. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
I'm taking a little praise here. I'll take it. Thanks, guys. AJ says, and Mike, brought it up before, Nong Halo Mike, about the question I asked Mike Tomlin today in the press conference. Not to interrupt you, Chris. Basically, I just asked him, Will Anderson's a rookie D end. I know you were looking at rookie D ends. What was your experience like with him? Did you get to know him at all? And Mike Tomlin's answer was worth way more than the question I actually asked him.
Yeah.
So if you want to read the full answer, it's in our feed on DKPittsburghSports.com. He was awesome talking about Will Anderson, and for that matter, about Brian Branch. He snuck Brian Branch in there unprompted. So needless to say, when one or both of those guys are free agents, the Steelers will be interested.
If you want to get a really bad answer from Mike Tomlin, ask him questions to things he doesn't want to have to answer or just want to answer in general. If you want to get a really good answer out of Mike Tomlin, ask him about anything that shows that gives him an opportunity to be the football junkie that he is. And going through the draft process is one of the things that Mike Tomlin loves. He loves meeting all the players. He loves sitting down with them, getting to know them. Those are things that he absolutely loves to do. And so when you ask about the draft process for a high-profile player like Will Anderson, it did not surprise me whatsoever that Mike Tomlin went on and on and on about it because he just loves talking about that stuff.
And there's a little bit of PR service done in there too. Let's not pretend that these guys aren't smart enough about their answers, right? I mean, this won't be the last time.
Oh, Mike Tomlin's he's a maestro behind the podium.
This won't be the last time Mike Tomlin goes to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to look at a prospect either, which, by the way, is a top 3 or 4 program to go look at college football players. So look. Maybe a little bit of lip service in there as well, just saying, hey, we love going to Tuscaloosa. We love Alabama football players. We talked to 2 really damn good ones down there, and they both were really great with their time. So really good answer for Mike Tomlin there, and AJ, appreciate the $5 contribution.
Yes, thank
there.
you.
So, okay, I will address 2 things. We cannot go an hour today. Chris is more of on a time crunch than I am.
I mean, we don't have to stick to 30 minutes and see you later, but hours kind of pushing it a little bit.
And also no DK and Ramon today. I made the mess up yesterday. I thought there was a show still. That's my bad. So no DK and Ramon today. I believe they will be back tomorrow at 4 Eastern as they usually are.
I know DK is on his way to Philadelphia to cover the Pirates series. So
yes, 2 more series left. We're almost to the home stretch of the baseball season. Okay, let's go over this. And I'm not going to read the whole quote from Mike Tomlin when he talked about, he didn't mean it, basically. When he we
don't have to go through the whole thing. I mean, it's the whole thing with this whole mojo thing is that, listen, yes, it was like he was giving us lip service and everything like that. But, I mean, the offense was really, really stale, really stagnant, no rhythm whatsoever, in the first 2 weeks. And honestly, Mike Tomlin mentioned no rhythm, early on, especially after the 49ers game. And so when he starts getting the same questions and those things haven't been figured out yet, it's not surprising to see Mike Tomlin go another route to be like, well, let me give you a different answer that might, tickle your fancy a little bit better. So it's not surprising, but I do think whether this offense needed its mojo, doesn't have its mojo. We've talked more about mojo than you probably heard the word mojo in the second Austin Powers movie.
When I said it the first time today, I really tried to not do a Dr. Evil accent.
I mean,
really
it is what it is. I mean, the fact of the matter is that this offense still has this 59-minute stream work.
Miltank's uncle. I'm much of a Pokemon fan myself. 59 minutes will not work today. This is a good time limit for us in the relative 30 to 35 minute range.
Yeah.
Now, going forward, obviously, this is what it's going to be, but that doesn't mean we're closed-minded to the idea. So. Appreciate you guys wanting more. That is a
that's
sign.
awesome. Yes,
and we'll definitely take
so
that.
Much, guys.
Every time I see Miltank's uncle, I'm like, yes, Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. I'm a huge fan. So I want to bring up a question. I want to bring up a question from Brian. That is old school. It's my favorite.
No,
generation.
I'm saying I'm old school. I go all the way back to red and blue, and that's like my
That's one generation ahead of that, though. Anyway, Brian asks, "Hey guys, you're the head coach for the week. Who is RB1? Najee Harris or Jaylen Warren?" Here's my answer. I'm 50-50. I'm 50-50 on the whole thing. I'm not politicking the first, Najee being a former first-round pick. I'm not politicking. He's been there. He's ran for 1,000 yards before. I'm not doing it. What I want to do is I want to put the best running back on the football field that's going to give me the best chance to execute on whatever play it needs to be. Yeah. Najee Harris has his strengths. Jaylen Warren has his strengths. Today, Mike Tomlin really talked up Jaylen Warren's pass blocking, by the way. And that was a big reason why Kenny Pickett was able to get that touchdown to Calvin Austin. Was it the Calvin Austin one? I think it was.
I think so.
Point is, yes. So point is, those running backs do different things. They are a tandem, as Teresa says. There is no RB1, they're a tandem. And that's how the Steelers are going to run this running backs room. And even when Anthony McFarland gets back. When Anthony McFarland gets back, you're going to see snaps taken away, probably mostly from Jaylen Warren, but even maybe some early down work, depending on if it's a pass play or a run play. Now, what Matt Canada needs to do is to be conscious of the usage, just like we talked about last Friday with Darnell Washington, right? There's pretty much a tell. Like if Darnell Washington's on the field, he's there to block. If Pat Fryermuth's on the field, he's there to run a route. However, the Steelers running backs are a little multifaceted. It's a little bit different. So I would go more of a 50-50 split, quite honestly. And that's not to knock Najee or to say that Jalen's better than Najee or creeping up to Najee. But I just think that those guys do different things for this offense, and they can find more success if they are more diverse, so to speak, in their usage of those two.
Yeah, I am not. I'm just going to respectfully disagree. Najee's the RB1, man. He just is. Listen, it's absolutely nothing against Jaylen Warren whatsoever. I think he's a wonderful compliment and a wonderful changeup. I think I love the way he hits the hole. I love the way he runs. He's always running hard. He's got really good acceleration. He's got a good burst of speed. He's quick. There's a lot to like about Jaylen Warren. Don't get me wrong whenever I'm saying this. It doesn't have to be you're all the way over here or you're all the way over here. So whenever I talk up Najee, it doesn't mean that I hate Jaylen. Let's just get that out of the way because, that's how debates go nowadays. When you talk about, I'm pro Najee guy, it's like, that must mean you hate Jaylen. No, it's not what I'm saying. So whenever I'm about to talk about Najee, just keep that in mind. Listen, Najee shows, and listen, I don't want to say like he's pacing himself or something like that. And yeah, he does need to run harder a little bit more often. But listen, the running game problems, especially in the first two games, were not on the running backs. 90% of the time, it was not on the running backs. There were times where Jaylen got stuffed, and it was for the same reasons that Najee got stuffed. It's because the blocking just wasn't there. The first run of the game, both times, Najee's the one getting tackled for a loss, but in that first game against the 49ers, Fred Warner goes unblocked. You can't leave that guy unblocked. Then they run an outside zone to the right. James Daniels doesn't get enough of the 3 technique. You're asking then a center to get all the way over to a 3 technique in a zone run. That's impossible. Can't do that. That blows up the play. Then Daniels compounds it and misses the backer on the second level. That makes it even worse. It's all Najee has not been the problem when it comes to the running game.
Mm-hmm.
Is he batting 1,000 in terms of what hole he should be hitting? No running back is batting 1,000 by this point in the season, even through 3 games. Just I don't understand. I don't know if it's just because of the discourse of like how unpopular it is to take a running back in the first round. And so if this dude isn't becoming the absolute best running back in the league, like that was a waste of a draft pick. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be like that. Is he productive? Does he get yards? Does he get the ball in the end zone? He hasn't scored yet, but I mean, I'd have to go back and look, but did he score the most amount of touchdowns for the Steelers last year? Pretty sure
he might have.
Pretty sure. I mean, if he's productive, then who cares? And right now, you want to talk about, well, he's not scoring touchdowns. Well, how many touchdowns has the Steelers offense scored through 3 games? Not a lot.
I mean, 4. I think it's 4. Actually,
not a lot. So he's not one of the guys to contribute to 4 touchdowns. Oh man, he's awful.
Okay, AJ brings up the report from late last week about Matt Canada's quote unquote promotion. Mike Tomlin gave a very definitive answer on what has Matt Canada been giving more duties? Is he working more with Kenny Pickett? It was a one-word answer. It was no. So Mike Tomlin did not confirm.
He did not confirm it. He denied it.
In fact, he denied it. He refuted it pretty emphatically. I want to give a couple of quick numbers, and there's more questions that are coming in, and they're really amazing. And we've starred them on the side here to go back to. I'm going to put a few numbers on the table here, Chris, for you to react to. Okay.
Yep.
So 235 yards for Kenny Pickett. That's a season high, right? 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. His 108.5 quarterback rating was the highest registered in a single game in his career. I think that's a little important. He also has not eclipsed that yardage mark, 235, since week 15 of last year. 8.39 yards per passing attempt, the most in a single game, in a full game that he's played. The only time he averaged more than that was when they played the Jets week 4 last year when he took over at halftime. So, again, like we talked about yesterday, tangible signs of improvement, right? We see symbols that they're starting to pick it up a little bit, but it needs to be more consistent. It needs to be, played out over the course of several games and not just 1 or 2 really good drives out there. The Steelers are still, in the bottom 10 in the NFL, relatively speaking, bottom 10, bottom 13 in yards and points. Like they're just not putting enough yards and enough points. So like,
almost seems like they need more mojo.
Maybe they do. A couple more really good ones here. I want to divert to talking about Cole Holcomb.
Yeah,
as Swan
really
does.
Good.
Swan 269. Can you talk about the impact Cole Holcomb made at inside linebacker on Sunday? Aside from the absolutely monster hit on Devontae Adams across the field, which was a completely legal hit. I mean, really good hit from him.
That TFL, man. That TFL, that's something we didn't see from Devin Bush last year.
I think that's one more than Devin Bush had last year. I think Cole Holcomb has been a fine addition to this, not just the inside linebacker room, but the defense as a whole. He's wearing the green dot. He's taking care of a lot of really important duties, and you saw his impact right there. And I'll even add Quan Alexander into the conversation.
Yeah,
I think what Quan Alexander's been able to do, kind of like a flyer pickup, if you remember in Latrobe, like really late in training camp. Yep. Hey, welcome in. You're a veteran. You're playing. Like that really threw. I mean, Landon Roberts was thrown off a little bit. By the way, Mark Robinson, a couple really nice special teams plays. So I think Cole Holcomb has been a fine fill-in. A fine starter at inside linebacker. He's certainly an improvement over Devin Bush and Robinson.
It's what you expected to see. I mean, for sure. When it's the same thing with the offensive line, and there's a couple questions on the offensive line we're going to get to here in just a second. But whenever you talk about what the Steelers did at inside linebacker, I mean, as much as they did things on, as much as they shook up things on the offensive line, I mean, they completely overhauled inside linebacker. Like other than Mark Robinson, it's a completely new room. Even the coach, we're bringing in Aaron Curry. I mean, it's a whole new room. So yeah, you expected to see bumps and some rough patches early on. Like just that just comes with the nature of a complete overhaul. But the fact that you're already seeing, even this amount of productivity from this group just through 3 games, I'm liking the direction it's going. I'll put it that way. And speaking of direction it's going, Eric asks, Eric and Trevor both have similar questions. Eric asked you guys see a shakeup on the offensive line this week, and then Trevor asked, should Broderick Jones elevate to a starter? Sorry, let me rephrase that. I didn't read it right. If Broderick Jones is elevated to starter, would we see much improvement in the running game? It's right on the screen.
Right on the screen, Chris.
Can't read it. Can't read it.
You got it.
Can't read it.
Okay.
It's that Texas education. I just can't read.
You went to college.
I know. It's a joke.
If Broderick Jones was elevated to starter, would we see much improvement in the running game? Chris, you want to take the lead on that because I'm not so sure. To be honest with you.
No, I like the direction that, and there's another statement from Teresa that kind of plays a role into this because obviously the offensive line and the running backs are tied together in terms of the running game. Listen, the offensive line and they're again, when you see the performance that they had last week, it still wasn't good. Like overall, it was like there were way too many instances where Mason Cole was getting pushed back or somebody's getting pushed back. Somebody's missing an assignment. But it was better, and it should have been better because they're playing the Raiders front, which is nowhere close to the 49ers front and still nowhere close to the Browns front. They were better. I don't think it's, when you see some sort of improvement, you don't go, okay, well now we need to change something up. That's just not the time to do it. And then here's Teresa saying our O-line schematics don't favor Najee's running style. Disagree with that as well, just because if you go back to his days in Alabama, Najee was a really good zone runner, and the Steelers primarily run outside zone, and that actually plays into Najee's wheelhouse when it comes to what he's used to running. And I think that's one of the main reasons why they switched to zone, last year to more zone running. And the issue with zone is that it does take time and communication and building upon that communication in order to get zone down, because it relies way more on talking to each other and learning what to do with each other in every, and it's fluid every single play. It's never the same. It's not as simple as there's a guy in my gap, I'm going to block him down. So now is not the time to be shaking things up, especially when you saw even just a little bit of improvement last week.
Malvo, good point. Quan Alexander wore the green dot on Sunday night. It was Cole Holcomb early in the season. So yes, a bit of a misspeak there. Great catch. That was, of course, according to reports, and Quan confirmed that. A question for Barber. Is Pat P looking old, or is it just me? He's looking for a Hall of Fame type play from a now 13-year vet.
Yeah.
I think Patrick Peterson, I think he looks a little slower than maybe Patrick Peterson passed. And that's still a fast level. Like, I'm not saying he's washed or anything, because I really don't think he is. And he played well on Sunday. Obviously had the interception. I don't know if Patrick Peterson, the Hall of Famer, is in the Steelers uniform, as far as the skills and as far as the physical traits and as far as all of that technical stuff that he can do. But Patrick Peterson, the future Hall of Famer, is still very much up here. And it is invaluable to the Steelers defense to have a guy like that, as far as communication, as far as, helping Joey Porter Jr. come along, which, by the way, 7 snaps to 14 snaps to 27 snaps. Joey Porter Jr. is getting more work in, and he's looking better with each week. And he has been one of the best rookies in pass coverage this NFL season. So Patrick Peterson may not be playing at that super fast, super elevated Hall of Fame level, but he recovered from a pretty rough start over the last 2 weeks and had a good game on Sunday. Yeah. One
important thing to really note when it comes to Joey Porter Jr.'s usage is also how often the Steelers are able to deploy dime coverage. They weren't able to do that almost at all against the 49ers. And Mike Tomlin pointed this out this week. It's because typically when you're in dime, you're going to be, it's, 3rd and long, stuff like that. When the 49ers are, first off, barely having to get to 3rd down in order to get and then when they do get the 3rd down, it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, you're not going to be running a lot of dime defense that way. So that's just obviously the lesser amount of defensive backs you're using. So everybody's snap counts, behind the starters are going to get smaller. And so as the defense continues to get better and continues to force 2nd and long, 3rd and long, then you'll start to see more dime defenses. That's just more opportunities for Joey Porter Jr. So this really is the situation in which the whole defense has to play well in order for Joey Porter Jr. to get on the field more.
Mike, I don't know why I did that either. So I don't know why I counted 3, 1, 2, and then I put that up there. No idea why I did that. Bill Takes Uncle says Pat Pete is playing like Paul Pierce on the Clippers. That's comment of the day for me. That's amazing. It's like Shaq on the Cavaliers. I'm a Cavaliers fan. It's like Shaq on the Cavs. Like he's just there for the ride. He's not really there to play a huge role. He's just kind of hanging out, you know. That's what I like it. And yes, here's a good point. This comes with really Patrick Peterson and Levi Wallace. And Wallace obviously had a really good game on Sunday. He made Chris and I both eat words. He's had 3 tough assignments: Ayuk, Cooper, and Adams. Like
wow.
you can't lose sight that over the last 3 games, 3 of the league's top wide receivers, and you can even put Deebo Samuel into this conversation. And Jacoby Myers, by the way, had a pretty good game on Sunday as well. Like this Steelers secondary has had some pretty tough assignments when it comes to whether it's individual wide receivers or passing attacks in general. When you look at the passing attack of, you know, the Raiders and the 49ers, and then Amari Cooper goes for 90 yards against them. So it hasn't been like easy matchups either. Now, Nico Collins is not Devontae Adams, and Tank Dell is not Amari Cooper. So an easier task for sure for that secondary coming up against the Texans.
Ryan says the Dolphins just scored again. It wouldn't surprise me if they did.
Well, look at the time.
They
Broncos
are
country.
Yeah, they
Ooh.
are. Whew.
Broncos country.
Now, to be fair, like when you talk about, yes, you know, you have, you know, Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk in week 1 and Amari Cooper last week or in week 2, and then Devontae Adams last week. Yeah, it's probably a little lighter this week, but I think most weeks they're going to be seeing some sort of star receiver on the other side, and that's just the nature of the NFL nowadays. There are so many good receivers. It's one of the main reasons why I've just had to change my fantasy football draft strategy. You used to have, like, I have to have one of the top running backs. Like, you know what? If I load up on 2 and get 2 phenomenal receivers with my first 2 picks, I think I could get away with having a couple of, like, okay, as long as they're, you know, kind of consistent. They don't have to be these massive point producing running backs. It's just because there's so many good receivers nowadays.
Yeah.
And there really are. And most weeks the Steelers defense is probably gonna have to be trying to shut down one of them. I mean, just you have to play the Bengals twice, and that's Jamar Chase, that's T. Higgins. Good luck.
I mean, now Zay Flowers, Odell Beckham, like, it doesn't get easy in the NFL. All of these teams are investing in wide receivers, and for the fact of that matter, they're investing in tight ends as well. So, like, it's not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not rare to find these teams that just have one star receiver and then a second really good one, and then maybe a tight end that they like. The Steelers essentially have that as well. When you factor in Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, and Pat Freiermuth, they have that same exact thing. Bob brings up another contender for comment of the day. Adam's saying he wants to win and then going to the Raiders is like him going to the dollar store and saying, I didn't show up here to buy a bunch of cheap stuff. The big comment that stuck out to me over the weekend was Garrett Bowles, the Broncos O-lineman, saying he's been here 7 years and is tired of losing.
Yeah.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
That's so rough coming from him. And like you got to watch the video to really understand what he was saying and how he was saying it, and just the look on his face of just like borderline shame. Like all this talk about Russell Wilson and then Sean Payton, and like it's going to be amazing in Denver, and it's been the direct opposite of that. It's really tough going out there in Denver right now.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's bad, actually. And to be fair, I mean, Mark says Kenny Pickett is still the AFC North leading passer. I mean, this is just
it's true.
I mean, who would have thunk that through 3 games even? Kenny's definitely, you know, he's got room to grow, but it was just good to, and we talked about it yesterday. It was just good to see him put together a better, more consistent performance. It still wasn't it was not a clean performance. There were still some moments where I was like, man, what are you doing? But you know, still the one thing I still want to see Kenny do is try to hang tough in the pocket a little longer before he bails.
Now, 2 key injuries that really 3 actually, that Mike Tomlin talked about today. Starting with the punter of the decade, Presley Harvin. I'm exaggerating when I say that, but he's been really good over the last couple of weeks. Presley Harvin dealing with a hamstring injury. James Daniels is dealing with a groin injury, and Allen Robinson is dealing with an ankle injury. And Tomlin specifically said that Robinson could be limited early this week with that ankle injury. So with Deontay Johnson already down, Pat Freiermuth has been banged up at points already during the season.
Yeah.
So it's not like the Steelers' weapons are healthy either. And going against the Texans, we'll talk more about the Houston defense either tomorrow or at least later in the week. But when Kenny Pickett's trying to find rhythm and this offense is trying to find ways to pick up and do it on a consistent basis, they're also not healthy. And without the top option in Deontay already, it's given Pickens more opportunities. And quick plug to Matt Williamson, a really good war room piece right now on DK Pittsburgh Sports.com about George Pickens. But this is a concern now. If Allen Robinson has to miss time or if he's still banged up going into Sunday, you're starting to suddenly see thinner options as far as Steelers pass catchers are concerned.
Yeah, Retro World Pool says Texans is no team to sleep on. Trap game on the way. I don't even think you could call this a trap game just because, listen, this team is coached by DeMeco Ryans and they're young, they're hungry. Are they expected to make the playoffs? Of course not. The AFC is loaded, but there's a lot of young talent on that team. I don't know if I would call that a trap game. I think a trap game is when you're going in, you're playing a team that's just – I think last week would have probably been more of a trap game because the Raiders just – they're not a good team. They're just not. There was a reason why a lot of people were like predicting the Raiders to finish even worse than the 6-11 they did last year. The Texans, especially with the draft class that they had, they got their franchise quarterback in CJ Stroud, and he's looked good so far. No picks through 3 games. That's impressive for a rookie. This is a team that I think that this is going to be a little bit more challenging than last week was. So I don't view this as a trap game whatsoever.
Let me bring one thing up. I lost it. I thought I started. Okay. That's Bayad. I can't read sometimes. When can Deontay Johnson come back and how is he progressing? So he was put on injured reserve after week 1, which means he can't be designated to return until week 5. It's going to take 4 weeks at minimum for the Steelers to even be able to reactivate him. And from that point, there's no guarantee that he's going to be 100% healthy. He's going to be more than likely playing banged up for the rest of the season, just with the nature of the injury. It's a hamstring injury. He has to run routes on his legs. He has to be able to cut and break and jump and do all this other stuff to catch passes and run routes. So Deontay at minimum is going to be back week 5.
Yeah, and then they can activate, and I forget this is what happens when you're not on an NFL beat anymore. You start to forget all the little minute details of every little transaction. But there is a period of time where they can activate him from IR, but not actually add him to the active roster. I think it's 3 weeks. I want to say it's 21 days.
Correct.
Where he practices with the team, but he's not on the active roster or anything like that. And then if they don't activate him by the end of that 21-day period, he stays on IR for the rest of the season.
Miltech bringing a good point about Keanu Benton, and I did ask Mike Tomlin today about Keanu Benton, and I'm like, Mike, he got the first sack. What have you seen from him over the last few weeks? Where's it been growing? All that other kind of stuff. And Mike made a really good point about the D-line stepping up without Cam Hayward. Yeah. And this is a product of Keanu Benton getting more opportunity along that defensive line. I can't say I can't say enough how high this front office and Mike Tomlin, how high they are on Keanu Benton. Yeah. There's a reason why they made him the 49th overall pick in the draft. They love Keanu Benton. Carl Dunbar loves Keanu Benton. He's another Wisconsin guy. You know how Mike Tomlin feels about those Wisconsin guys. Loudermilk, TJ, Nick Herbig, and Keanu Benton. They can run a package. They can run the Badger package if they really wanted to. Yeah. And that sack for me on Keanu Benton, tremendous get off. Quick moves. Carl Dunbar's talked about, he called him a dancing bear at some point because of the hands and the footwork and how quick he is. Keanu Benton was really impressive, and Mike Tomlin gave a lot of credit to him just stepping up and taking that opportunity that was given to him, by virtue of Cam Hayward. I shouldn't say virtue, by the effect, I guess, of Cam Hayward getting injured, in week 1.
All right. Well, so we're getting near the end of the time here. Corey, you got a final take, final thought, anything you want to leave us with? Another mojo talk from Mike Tomlin or just anything in general, man?
We're going to talk more about the Texans again between tomorrow and Friday, right?
Yeah.
But I think the one thing that's clear about, at least from Mike Tomlin's feeling about the Texans, is that he loves the 2 first-round rookies. He really likes C.J. Stroud, really complimented him on his tape and how he's grown from the time he was at Ohio State up until now, and that he's gotten better over the course of 3 weeks in a steady pace. So I know that people are commenting about the Texans and is a trap game and are they to be taken seriously? I think they're absolutely
Green revenge game
to be taken seriously, and it is the Kendrick Green revenge game. Mike Tomlin did not say too much about Kendrick Green today. What's your final thought here, Chris, as we start to get out of here on a Tuesday?
Monongahela Mike says hamstring not good for Harvin, and I'm just going to leave you with the thought of who would have thunk that through 3 games that everybody or virtually everybody would be like, we're going to fall apart if Presley Harvin is not punting the football for us. It's just so good. There, of all the people that I have spoken with in the Steelers locker room in the past, during my time on the beat last year, I'm telling you what, man, Presley Harvin is one of the most enjoyable guys to talk to. Mm-hmm. He's always got a smile on his face. He's always laughing. He's always, joking around. He loves the game. You can tell how important it is to him, how much he wants to be good. And it's so good to see him have the success that he's had early on. Obviously, he wants to continue that. He wants to be Mr. Consistent. He wants to be able to be, when he needs to boom at 70 yards, he's going to boom at 70 yards. When he's got to pin them down inside the 5, that's what he wants to do. But it's just so good to see that. And I also enjoy seeing fans, showing their appreciation, because I know that fans have definitely been really, really hard on him in the past. So
if there's one town in the National Football League that's going to care about special teams, it's going to be this one. Yeah. It's going to be this one. As Bill Tank's uncle says, no, you're awesome. First of all, please leave a like. Please share this episode. Please leave a comment, whatever it needs to be. We appreciate all of it. And it does go a very long way. The comments go a long way. Likes, shares, they all go a long way. Tell a friend to tell a friend. 3:00 every day from Monday through Friday right here on DK Pittsburgh Sports on YouTube. No DK and no Ramon today. I know it's unfortunate. They will be back. However, I believe tomorrow. I want to say it's tomorrow.
Everybody be jealous. DK gets to go to Philadelphia tonight, man.
Oh, hey, cheesesteaks. I'm in.
Oh, dude, I'm totally being sarcastic. I have no desire to ever be in Philadelphia, ever.
Shout out to Delafondros. Shout out to Conshohocken. He's Chris. I'm Corey. This has been the Southside Beat on a Tuesday. We'll see you Wednesday. Cheers, everyone.